Breaking news out of the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers are preparing a massive offer in hopes of making UConn's Dan Hurley their next head coach. That's according to ESPN. The 51-year-old Hurley recently led the Huskies to back-to-back national championships. The Lakers, in their head coaching search, have interviewed other candidates like analyst J.J. Redick and the Pelicans assistant coach James Borrego, but now it appears that they are looking squarely at Dan Hurley, and his resume down in college is a good reason why. You see that two-time natty at UConn going back-to-back for that, the first time since Florida and Billy Donovan, who went from college to the NBA, did that. 2024 Naismith and Big East Coach of the Year, a win percentage of above 70% in his 6 seasons with UConn, and an above 500 record overall in college, leading those way. We now welcome in our college basketball expert, Matt Norlander. And Matt, this was a shock, and I feel like something that many people were not expecting when the news came and broke this morning. So first, I'm just curious, what is your reaction to this report that Dan Hurley could be headed to the Lakers?
Yeah, this is a blockbuster of a news item here, and certainly surprising. There had not been really any buzz about this whatsoever, although in retrospect, we shouldn't be so terribly surprised given what Hurley has accomplished, given that the only other coach of the past, 3+ decades to win back-to-back championships in college at the men's level is Billy Donovan, who was eventually persuaded to go to the pro ranks, where he obviously still coaches the Bulls. Prior to that, Mike Krzyzewski did it, and he was courted by these Lakers actually 20 years ago. He famously turned down the Lakers job in 2004. So here we are 20 years later with the Lakers reportedly trying to target and convince Dan Hurley to take the job. That's where we stand right now with this story. Knowing Hurley, knowing how much he loves UConn, how much he loves the Northeast, how much he loves college basketball, this is an intriguing one. And if indeed the Lakers put a contract in front of him and his representatives for however many years and for however much money, it's going to be one that he's going to have to think long and hard on, because there are many pros, but also plenty of cons to actually making this leap and choosing to leave UConn for the Lakers.
Yeah, Matt, I know how great of a relationship you have with Hurley. You were all over it back in April when Kentucky was looking for a new head coach, and you were the first out there to say there's a 0% chance that Hurley would leave UConn for the Wildcats. But now this is the NBA calling. With your knowledge of Hurley and just kind of knowing that landscape, how do you think we maybe get to this point right here where Hurley could truly be considering bolting for the NBA?
Because it's the Lakers, and because the Lakers' job is on the same plane professionally that where UConn is, where Hurley has nearly put the UConn job overall. And when the Lakers call, you have to listen. I think back to Brad Stevens 11 years ago when he was at Butler and wasn't willing to listen to pretty much any college job, except maybe your Duke or North Carolina at that point, which were not open jobs, obviously. But then the Celtics called, and I remember talking to Brad later that year and paraphrasing so many years after the fact, but his words were, it's the Lakers, it's the Celtics, you have to listen. With Hurley, it's the Lakers, you have to listen. We'll see if it actually progresses to that point. Money will not be the deciding factor here. Hurley's going to get paid handsomely no matter what, either way. He's been in the process of trying to negotiate his contract, a new deal with UConn, and if he chooses to turn down the Lakers, he'll be among the most highly paid, if not the most highly paid coach, understandably and rightfully so, in all of men's college basketball. If he took the job, and if he was offered the job and took the Lakers job, it would be purely about taking on a new challenge and testing himself in a way that he can't currently do at the college level. Going for a third national championship in a row is a massive test, don't get me wrong. We haven't seen anyone do it since Wooden at UCLA in the 1970s. But from a college standpoint, Hurley has achieved so much over the past 2 years that the NBA is a step up. It's also a different kind of game, and I'd be intrigued to see how his personality style would adapt to the NBA. And part of that is, you think about NBA coaches, they don't have nearly the level of personality or histrionics on the sidelines that Hurley does. He is a different mold, and that will, he will have to change some of the things about how he does, but so much about player relationships and schemes and X's and O's he'll be able to adapt to. So this one I don't think is an automatic that he would take it if offered, but he has to listen and seriously consider it because he's at a point in his career where he may, I mean, we could look up in a year and he gets another job opportunity similar to this, but he may never get this kind of offer again, so he deserves to take as much time as he needs to seriously consider what might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
We've got about a minute left here, and I'm curious because you bring up the X's and O's and relationships, and we saw LeBron James back in April tweet about how much he is in love with UConn and Dan Hurley and the offense that they run. How could you maybe see that translating to the NBA and maybe that buy-in that you've seen from King James, if he sticks with the Lakers, to be able to be enough to get Hurley to want to jump in?
Well, a couple things on this. One, it is Hurley's offense, but also I got to credit Luke Murray, the assistant for UConn, who was as responsible for this as anyone. So if Hurley were to leave, I almost wonder if Luke Murray would be part of that deal and would go with him to the Lakers, because those two worked together diligently in the offseason to do this. And with that, by the way, comes questions of if he left, would Kamani Young get the bump up, or would UConn actually go out to the open market and try and find a Hurley replacement? And what's the fallout from the roster there? Alex Karaban, I'm telling you right now, if Alex Karaban knew that Dan Hurley was going to leave to go to the NBA, I firmly believe he would have left for the NBA and not come back to UConn. So there are dynamics there at play that Hurley has to take into consideration as well with all that. But yes, the LeBron James factor, sure, that's a short-term thing. It's not nothing. The chance to coach LeBron James, who Dan has known for a long time, that's certainly a significant thing. But LeBron James is not going to be playing in the NBA for the next 6-7 years, or the life of the contract that Hurley would be accepting there. So what kind of situation are you walking into? The Lakers obviously struggled to be a team of real relevance and continual impact for the entire season. Yes, I know they won the in-season championship and all of that, but there's plenty of intrigue there. But he'd have to take the job knowing what it could be after the time with LeBron James had passed and all that comes with it. And last thing, moving to the West Coast. I mean, Dan Hurley is a Northeast lifer, and this would be as big of a change as you could possibly ask him to make and his family to make, and those decisions will not come lightly. And so we have an intriguing next 24 to 48 to 72 hours ahead with Dan Hurley's future.
Matt Norlander here with us right on the spot as we talk Dan Hurley and the Lakers targeting him to be their next head coach. Matt, we appreciate your time and waking up with us. And the Lakers, of course, trying to turn the tide, because since they won that title back in the bubble in 2020, they've been right in the middle of the pack towards the bottom as well when it comes to that win percentage, points per game. Defense has been an issue as they try to shore things up, and maybe hope that Dan Hurley can be the one to bring them back to prominence and relevance and stay at the top. So much more to come with this on HQ. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll have Tim Doyle. We will have a fresh batch of the Morning Buzz coming to you with myself and Brandon Baylor. So keep it locked right here on HQ for a whole lot of